In the EXP lane, it's Kirk and Sanford! In the jungle, Karltzy and King Kong! The mid laners, Sanji and SuperFrince! The roamers, JP and gruelsome! And the eternal battle between Oheb and Kelra! And their respective coaches. For Team Liquid Philippines, Coach RC. For Onic Philippines, Coach Why Not? This is the Golden Rivalry for immortality for MSC Champions Arena. It's game time!
I honestly cannot hide my excitement from the way these players just decided to walk in and not even make fun of each other, not like the past 2 days. Leo, take us through what we should be expecting for Team Liquid Philippines.
Team Liquid Philippines, #1 across the board. Turtles, KDA, kills, GPM, DPM. #2 in game duration average. But here's the thing. In the playoffs, they decided to get a little experimental. You now have a Terizla in the hands of Sanford. The JH, Jawhead, previously 100% from Daddy JP. He doesn't rely on that as much anymore, despite it being his top heroes. So something to watch out for is how Mr. 2K, Karltzy, might pop off today. Yesterday, he was more of a role player. Yesterday, he was more like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, man. I'm going to play the Fredder if I need to again. But against the Super Fam, I think he himself will have to understand that my team needs me more than I need to show off.
Yeah, I agree so much, especially with JP. He went beyond what people expect of him. He went beyond the hero pools that we kind of limit him to use. But this is Onic Philippines. Similar to what you did mention, they're actually leading in least deaths, but they're quite low in terms of kill participation, and they are actually first in terms of first blood rate. You know, that's just their aggressive and individualistic playstyle that you constantly see from them, but they're still able to balance it out with the right amount of chemistry, with that synergy that we always see in terms of how the Super Family is able to play. And these are overall stats too that we should be watching out. Man, look at that hero pool.
Yep, they are either tied or have already gone above Aurora, their rivals as Trailblazers in the new era. So that is the one thing that they have that is higher than Liquid. So under the leadership of Coach RC, Liquid has just streamlined their approach to the game and decided to make like the defending champions. Again, this is very Onic of them to say, hey, rely on your solo mechanics, play as a team, and then go from there. That's their key to actually making it back in that series against Falcons last night. So this matchup here, you can look at the numbers and say, all right, Liquid is up. Yeah, you know, they're better at KDA. They have the #1 highest GPM and Team DPM. But understand that Onic have deep pockets.
They have. We just mentioned it earlier too, in terms of our gold laners. Oheb, it does feel like for the entire season, he's been only either on the Harith, on the Granger, on the Kimmy occasionally, on the Moskov. But other than that, it doesn't feel like he's been bringing out too much, unlike Kelra, you know? Like, even way back, right? Kelra's been the guy to even pull off all these Ruby gold lane picks, all those interesting kinds of gold laners.
The Clint.
The Clint, that maybe it didn't work just yet, but who knows? I mean, this happened too with all the entire 1-1 Jushin scenario, and they didn't give up. They didn't give up on it. Like, they still decided to keep trying, and eventually we saw the idea behind it. But before we head into this match again, I believe we should be listening on what's going in that smart ping test here right now.
Sniper, grabe!
They will show it on the camera later. Let's go, let's go! Eto nga ako, pre, si Mikasa. Mikasa! Ere! Paborito ni Mikasa sabihin. Ere! Ere! Wala, pre. Jacket diff, bro. It's already a jacket diff. Yeah, they already lost. Why are you close ranging me, bro? Sinabi ko na eh, wala talaga may kwento eh. Nakapokus lang ako. Sorry mga boss, nakapokus lang ako. ML lang nasa isip ko. Tsaka na yun, pagtapos ng playoffs. Nobody gets me like you do. Grabe yung improvement si Fuego, pre ah. Binigyan na naman ako ng inspirasyon ng Fuego, pre. Parang papayat. Papayat ako, okay lang. Ako, kinakabisado ko lahat, pre. Pati yung gold ko, napabayaan ko na eh. Pagka-gold ko. Wala eh, ganun talaga, pre. Si Michael Jordan kasi, hindi na kami magkasama ngayon eh. LQ kami. LQ tuloy. FO. Binanatan ng truck ang tao. Sinagisaan ng tao. Nagpulbo pa. First time ko na pinigpulbo sa checkpoint niya. Hindi na naman nakarete si Earth. Bad trip na naman. Wala yan, game ka naman, Ines. Kaya mo yan. Yan talaga pag malakas pre, shutdown. Tatlo eh. Unstoppable kasi.
Alright, so that's our smart ping test, bringing you low latency gaming with smart Sulit promos.
Subscribe to Only 5G with non-stop data for non-stop gaming in your favorite loading platforms or at the smart booth right outside the MPL venue.
Yeah, my favorite line out of that entire ping test was the they already lost line by Oheb.
I don't disagree.
Imagine basing it on their new jackets. But here's the infinite keys to victory. Leo, what should we be expecting from this?
In addition to getting really awesome jackets, Liquid has to prepare to face a 4 Protect 1 composition. Who's the one? Kelra! Who else? Onic can do just that. They can lose the early game, lose the mid game, as long as Kelra's even sitting on 0-4 and X, like they can come back, they can win. And all this while, all Onic has to do is exercise early game caution. If they can avoid Kelra slumping down and dropping down in stats like that, then all the more easier. Maybe they can activate King Kong, even activate SuperFrince. And then last but not least, both teams should go for the long game. Expect 5 games.
I can't believe they actually put it there. So are we seriously on the road to 34 today? Like, does everyone believe so? Like, actually, if you ask me, I think so too.
It's 30 tonight, 37 tomorrow, and then 44 all in.
Oh, wait, so
So 1 day at a time.
1 day at a time, we're maxing out the entire playoffs. That's such a feat, you know? Like, if we get to achieve that, it's insane how we're able to maybe statistically already call this the most competitive season yet.
It already is. It's a concerted effort between the teams, between the fans, and of course the talents who have some juju that make these series go long.
All right.
You know who you are.
We don't believe in curses here, by the way, but we are about to witness the first draft of this best of 5, and we're calling in some reinforcements once again. Renmar, how do you want me to introduce you for today?
I'll introduce myself. Hello and good afternoon, Leo, Brigida, and to the Renmarians all across the world.
Hail Renmarion!
Hail!
Hail Renmarians! So that's how you do it. I'll be taking notes. But for now, Coach RC, they're banning out the Fanny and the Oheb and Onic Philippines. They took the Oheb. Well,
You're not wrong.
It is the Oheb. He's sitting on an amazing record right now.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
He understood.
It looks like the Oheb just read. So, Kimi and Chip are the options, however, for Onic Philippines. And it feels like the only first picks that are still out there so far, along the lines of the Joy.
Yeah, Joy, Juicin, Box has also been a rising first pick in this playoffs.
Yeah. So the Baksha is available. That's been a flex, a major flex for a lot of teams. Falcons did use it too, just last night when they unfortunately got their reverse sweep. But now what could be the last ban for Onic Philippines? The trend so far is opening so much in terms of the jungler picks for both Karltzy and King Kong.
You think there's a chance we might be seeing a race for the low E for the first picks here? I mean, it is Sanji and SuperFrince.
That's the thing. With Chip out of the equation, you're going to want to watch out for that early Low Yi. Low Yi snuck into drafts twice yesterday in the last phase. So with the Choi being banned here, maybe these two teams get the incentive to, lock in that Low Yi here first or to close off their first phase.
Yeah, and by the way, that Lu Yi last night was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's been using the diversions non-stop whenever it was available, pairing it up also with some crowd control. It's definitely going to work wonders here for both of these teams, whoever decides to pick it up. But Team Liquid Philippines, they seem like they would rather pick the Jushin this time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna knock it. I think there's still a wide hero pool available for SuperFrince, so they don't need to race for it too hard. But Dangable, I believe, is might be the mindset here for Onic, or maybe looking towards getting one of the priority picks for Kelra. I don't know if they want to rush either the Moskov or the Granger, though.
Yeah, I mean, we did mention in the Keys to Victory the entire Core Protect 1 thingy, but when it's the Moskov, I think you can expect something else from Kelra. This time around, they're sticking with the Granger, though, and the Baksha that was just previously mentioned.
Yeah, what's so amazing about this Baksha is it provides rotational speed, reach, and anti-heal. All of these things are good in multiple kinds of combat. So by locking it in early, Coach Wynot's not closing the draft. But Liquid, oh man, they secure the Hayabusa, key to their comeback last night, and of course the Phobius, who is currently still, even post-patch, sitting high up in the prio bans and picks.
Yep. And there's gonna be a Suyo from King Kong to round out the first half of the drafting phase so far. So I'd say there's still plenty of flex that you can expect from Onic heading into the second phase, right?
Yeah, you can still flex the box into the roam in the EXP, and lately that changes a lot of the dynamics, considering that it's up against the Phobius. However, it might still default into the classic Hilda versus Phobius in lane, considering that you see a Hayabusa on the other side. Makes sense for Kirk wanting to say to Coach Why not to Coach Hayes, hey, can I get a Hilda at least so that I can try to apply pressure in their jungle?
Hilda for Kirk has been, like one of the heroes you just constantly attach to his name because he plays it that way. That entire solo rap warrior feeling whenever he gets the hands on the Hilda. But now they're respecting some of JP's potential hero picks, taking out the Jawhead as well.
You can't deny the astronomical win rate that JP has on the JH. But look at this, Liquid blocking out SuperFrince's favorite, the Farsa. They should ban rather the Selena, then ban the Farsa, because that's all three main heroes that he has. But that still leaves the Luyi open.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
So what do? You pick your poison, right? Is it Selena? Is it Farsa or is it Luyi?
Onic Philippines banning out the Gata Kacha. They may be eyeing on a Farsa priority, or they're trying to bait the LPH into banning it out. No, they're not going to bite the bait. They'd rather ban the Loyi. I feel like that's the better ban here.
Yeah, they have the Hayabusa either way, so they'll have ways to answer a potential Farsa pickup here for SuperFrince, but we're not counting out the possibility too of another. Never mind. They're just going with the Farsa.
No, they'll keep that Baksha flex, and they're not afraid of the Farsa. Why? Again, they have the Hayabusa for reach, and then they can still pick Cho. Or the Hylos, sure, like just cut right through.
So this isn't gonna be any setup type. It's just probably Team Liquid Philippines playing the team fights confidently and aggressively with the amount of tanky heroes that they already have right now.
Yeah, with Onic wanting to play a tight formation around the far side Granger, Team Liquid Philippines has a perfect lineup actually to break through that. Of course, with Leo mentioning that you could just bring down the Glorious Pathway, just run through them. So far, there's not a lot of picks on the side of Onic Philippines that will give this TLPH lineup a lot of difficulty. If they decide to go Hilda here, it's not going to do much. They might have to settle for either an Edith or a CC if they want to be able to have stoppers.
Edith or a CC. There's also the glue.
Oh yeah, right. Why would I always forget about the glue?
Glue is new, all right?
Yeah.
Glue is new, and there was a time in the past month that we couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
But here he is, looking to latch on two major targets. He wants to either get on Oheb or get on Sanji, one or the other.
And just like provide more targets overall whenever Karltzy wants to play aggressively on this Hayabusa, possibly wasting the resources every now and then. this is the lineup that they decide to go for in the first game. The lineup rating favors Onic Philippines quite a bit, right, Leo?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Liquid's draft doesn't show in the index. And that comes down to map control, that comes down to just team fight pacing, and of course, the capability to say when you don't want to fight. Like, those are numbers that just don't reflect.
I agree. This is looking like another aggressive and action-packed game number 1, so we'll head on over to our casters.
The Champions Arena is erupting right now. It's one series that stands in between a ticket to the grand final and another ticket off to Riyadh later this year. Is it going to be Team Liquid Philippines or Onic Philippines in our first match of the day? And will we get an epic conclusion to this Golden Rivalry? It's me, Naisu, Ingan, and Renmar on the desk all throughout the day. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? We're getting a glimpse at the emblems here.
Oh, all right. All standard in terms of the emblem picks. Of course, SuperFrince going for his fast rotating, heavy map presence Sparsa. And yeah, I too am erupting with excitement.
Yeah.
Even though it's only game number 1.
I feel the drums. My body's shaking right now, but
hopefully that's connected.
Yeah. If you're gonna look at actually the Suyo so far this playoffs, it seems like it doesn't have a good track record.
Oh yeah.
So King Kong is gonna look to change that, and at the same time, Oheb and Kirk, second time only to use the Moskov and the Glue for these respectively. So far, no wins coming into the playoffs. So let's see how things will change, because so far it has been a slow start for both of these teams. We're used to seeing the mid laners and the roamers really poke it out in the mid lane.
Yeah, this one's quite different though too, just because of what we've seen the past couple of days, a lot of these long series, and we've seen adjustments obviously throughout these longer series happen, but this time around with both compositions here, I feel like, yeah, we haven't seen the Suyo perform what we're used to seeing, and that's fine. He kind of needed that adjustment to happen, and at the same time, you just have to be able to support him. Now you have a glue here that could help, but Brusco
finds Karltzy with a shield unity, forced out the shadow early on, but in exchange for the revitalize, so a crucial battle spell for Onic expended for the turtle.
Yeah, very early in the game, Team Liquid Philippines are not going to be able to contest objectives as much. I mean, you've got Glue, you've got Baksha that you have to deal with, Suyo, of course, one of the relatively tankier assassins.
Oh, SuperFrince with a feathered airstrike. It's a grab coming in for the side of Onic as they take down Sanford as well. Let's see how TLPH will respond as Kirk flickers in once again with SuperFrince. King Kong also on the chase, goes in for the kill, and an aggressive start for the Sonics as they take down one more. The daddy goes down.
He goes down, and hey, King Kong might have just put Suyo back on the board a little bit here.
Oh yeah, King Kong has not won this playoffs yet, if I'm not mistaken. He's 0-5 with everything that has happened, with all the lineups he's had to go against. But so far, in this one, this is not a terrible hero matchup against the Suyo. Sanji gets picked in the mid by Prince and Brusco.
In a blink of an eye, Brusco and SuperFrince really putting control at the center of the map once again as a 4-0 start for the Sonics with 2.3k gold lead.
Yeah, very fast start here for Onic Philippines, and you know who has done really well so far through the playoffs is this Farsa pick.
Yeah.
Right? It's been so good for a lot of the teams that bring it because it's got such good early damage potential throughout the early game, but even in the late game, we've seen usually topping sometimes the carry in the big four stats for the Farsas here. So we're going to have to see how Sanji adjusts that, because as he's sitting at 0-2, still trying to build up into his first item, doesn't have the flicker right now. We know even the Jushin pairs up really well with a lot of compositions, but right now, they're just kind of getting outmaneuvered.
Yeah. As you can see, the dive center composition of Onic, Brusco has been a thorn in the neck of TLPH. As soon as the Lantern Flare is just beaming up, Brusco just dives in with the shield unity, disrupts whatever TLPH has in store for Onic Philippines.
All right, so Onic Philippines. Oh, they might find another one. JP? No. You don't need to dive under the tower this early on. Second turtle is going to be up, and it's still going to be looking good for Onic as Karltzy is already getting pressured by Kurt.
Yeah. Kurt just replicating what a Hilda does right now. Sticking onto Karltzy, even sustaining damage coming in from 2. JP goes in with a glorious pathway. SOD is going to connect here. Sanford goes in with an Infernal Pursuit. Might be able to bring down SuperFrince. That's one member down for Onic Philippines. There's going to be a flicker. Sanford working on King Kong with the zone. As JP might be able to get taken down. JP will fall. SuperFrince as well. King Kong escapes.
Just in a snap, Onic Philippines lost their formation. Kurt,
King
yes,
Kong.
he was doing the right job. King Kong might be up next to the docket, but Brusco's there to help him out unless...
See ya. King Kong was there, and now Carlos, he's not, there's no way Kirk goes under that. It's a Hayabusa versus a glue. He's going to be fine, gets away, but Kirk takes a couple shots. Might just be trying, I thought he was going to try to delay for King Kong to make it there, but yeah, ultimately, Onic Philippines still holding on to that lead they had there. What an interesting fight for the objective, but at least Carl got the turtle. Now the play here on the bottom side for this turret.
Instant rotation from Onic. After dominating the turtle fight, instantly goes down and helps Kelra, gives him enough space to take down a turret down bottom. And now so far, we're seeing Onic Philippines, really the sustain is just there for them because it's going to come down to a point where TLPH they have to use a lot of resources just to get by Brusco and Kirk.
Yeah, they are so tanky, and again, they don't have the damage profile to deal with them this early on. Although, yes, they were able to break the formation of Onic Philippines. It's the strength of their lineup. But if Onic Philippines keeps a tighter formation, they're a little bit more disciplined, and they're a little bit more careful with their timing, then they should not be as susceptible to what TLPH did to them earlier. In terms of the items, still very close. You see Karltzy still trying to catch up to King Kong, though. Around getting close to 1,000 gold difference between the Hayabusa and the Suyo.
They're not getting too, like, lane, in some of the important lanes, they're not getting too far behind, and it's going to be kind of work here, even for Karltzy, just trying to clear this lane, but look at the shots from Kelra, bringing him under half health. Objective is going to be up shortly, so you got Onic Philippines trying to get in position, and TLPH looking to see what angle they can take, and part of that is just let, as Brigida called earlier, let the Oheb farm up.
Yeah.
You know, let him get to where he needs to be on this Moskov. He can put pressure across the map if he wants to, and hopefully join these fights or the objectives later on when he's got some more items. But
Let's go, JP.
Oh no, JP used the glorious pathway defensively there. Major resource expended for the side of TLPH and on the right time because the turtle spawns.
All right, so Team Liquid Philippines are most likely going to be giving this objective up as they have their eyes set on the tower in the bottom lane, but the minion waves are a bit too far, so that could call for a defense on side of Onic. No, they're going to be willing to give it up. Oh, Karltzy goes in!
Has to use a wiki shadow kill to evade a potential death, but gets stunned down by Brusco! Feeds the kill off to Kelra, and a huge kill onto the young goat.
what was the idea there?
It looks like he really just wanted the purple buff, but Sanford could be up next. A little bit too greedy, Karltzy, and a great bump by Brusco.
Maybe he just wanted to force a situation where the retro is going to be used, or even steal that purple buff, and then he thought he could get away, but all the, you know, the super fan was basically there at that point, so this leads to now another objective taken, and maybe his purple buff taken.
Onic Philippines now attempting to steal away the purple buff of Karltzy. That's a 5-man rotation. Kirk just soaking up the damage that TLPH can give him. And now Onic Philippines holding on to a 5k gold lead. Spread already committed by Kirk. Here comes a glorious pathway. Will they be able to make a play here as Sanji is continuing to dish out the lantern flare, but it has no effect whatsoever to the members of the Sonics.
Still not there in terms of the damage department as Onic Philippines' gold lead is ballooning closer and closer to 5,000. Oheb is just going to be left in split push duty to try and get resources for himself and take towers down for the team. I think Liquid are just going to have to turtle this out and try to play for the counter punch if they can, because even if they initiate, they don't have the damage. There's only a glowing one on that juice in.
Yeah, and Carl is about 2,000, a little less than 2,000 gold behind at this point, so he's definitely playing catch up, and that's why we see him maybe taking some of these chances, you know, trying to get what he can, or even slow down King Kong a little bit in whatever capacity that's going to be. That's what Conceal going to be used. Might just be enough to push them off of this tier 2 turret. Sanji?
Force out the Crimson Beacon as Kelra on the chase. Here comes JP though to the rescue. Still no casualties for both of these teams.
Already up to a Malefic Roar. 3 core items for King Kong Suyo. At the same time, Kirk and Brusco are getting closer and closer to building up the dominance ISIS, which means that once they have those items and Oheb wants to, you know, smack a little bit of those big beefy dudes, it's going to be like, wait, why am I getting slower? It's not as effective as I want it to be.
Yeah, that's going to be a big part of what can help them. Again, you got to remember what we saw yesterday. TLPH, they reverse swept, right? So even in this situation where they're down, 6,000 gold, you're not going to be able to just count them out And you wouldn't want to do that because they are able to find plays even when you think their backs are completely against the wall. The fight for the purple buff, it looks like Karltzy is not going to get it though. So does not have his purple buff for now. The Lord is up. This could be a big decision for them. Do they actually want to contest into this, or does Onic Philippines just get this? It looks like they'll keep Oheb down on that bottom side, possibly get the tier 1, but JP takes a little bit of hits.
Here comes the spread, force out the glorious pathway. But Kirk works on JP. As they bring him down, King Kong focuses his eyes on the Lord. Kirk and Brusco just zoning out Karltzy. The spear is going to connect. Sanford has to flicker out again. Kirk latches on Karltzy here. SuperFrince with a better airstrike to zone out, but Kelra, I think he wants to go for the kill. Sanford goes in with an Infernal Pursuit, and he's going to take him down as King Kong gets the Lord. Karltzy here might be the next target. Sanji forced to use Crimson Beacon, and Kelra got taken down.
Sanji was still able to find Kelra there, but Onic Philippines are going to be walking away with the Lord. Oheb got back into the action with a Spear of Destruction, but he was able to take the tower down bottom. But at the end, the long sequence, Onic Philippines are still going to be in control.
Okay, they're still in control right now. The most they maybe get out of this is all the shields are going to be down. Maybe they get a base turret with this, but Oheb and Karl are still up. Oh,
Kirk again with a flicker in. SuperFrince with a feathered airstrike. As they work on the mid lane turret, Lord sieging in onto the top. They still have their holy shields. I think every single shield will be popped here. 4-man rotation for Onic. Kelra still not in the picture, and TLPH will work on this Lord.
yeah, you don't have to force that.
So much pressure. Kirk is literally the glue holding not Onic together, Team Liquid Philippines together. And they don't want to be together. They want a little bit more of separation between them so that they can do things individually. But Kirk is just keeping them at bay. Sanford doing everything he can to do something here, but he's going to be in trouble.
But Kirk latches onto Sanford here. Glorious Path being casted down. They're working on Kelra. Might be able to bring him down. That's one member down. Exchange for Sanford. Karltzy goes in with a wee shadow kill.
It might be a turnaround here for Team Liquid Philippines. Brusco already low, but the members of Team Liquid Philippines are falling as Onic are holding on.
Sanji might be able to take down one. A double for Sanji, but Kirk answers back. A mega kill. Kirk and King Kong working on the top lane alongside SuperFrince, and they're going to bring down and inhibit their turrets.
Kirk. He is such a nuisance on this glue. It's working so well for them.
It was a perfect pick. Again, I feel like there's a reason as to why I always forget about glue in drafts. Now Kirk is reminding us why you shouldn't.
Don't forget the name.
Don't forget that there's a UKK in town. It's Kirk and King Kong.
That's Kirk and King Kong, man. Yeah, because that's as far as we go. We only go to 2, right? Yeah. We keep it there, and now Onic Philippines is ready to go ahead and get ready for the next fight. You're still 50 seconds away from this objective coming up. And so at this point, TLPH, it looked like in some of those team fights, they might have been able to turn some of that around, right? But the biggest factor here is they're just lacking some of the damage, some of the durability because they are behind by this much gold. So if they're somehow able to, like you mentioned earlier, Renmar, to turtle up and be on the defensive, but buy time, then maybe they catch up here and fight once again.
Clark Wade from Sanford just try and stop Onyx onslaught there as they try and take away the purple buff of Karltzy. But again, it's going to be a waiting game for TLPH because in 15 seconds, the Lord will be spawning.
Kirk feels like a cowboy with a K right now. He's just rounding up all the horses together, and they just want to run free. They just want to run wild. But again, they're just all kept up, and of course that means that SuperFrince is happy, Kelra's happy, King Kong is happy because, well, when he goes in with the Soul Sever, he'll be able to deal so much damage.
Yeah. That's why SuperFrince isn't afraid to early cast a feathered airstrike because he knows there's a cleanup that can come from King Kong. Kirk with a spread there.
King Kong?
As King Kong jumps in once again. Brusco with the shield unity looking for the proper target, and he latches onto JP.
That's going to be another one. Counter's going to take JP down. Onic Philippines look like they've found the main target, and that's 2 down to the side of Team Liquid Philippines.
The next target might be Oheb here. King Kong jumps in, but Karltzy wants to fight back, and Karltzy wants that trade, but Sanji is the only one left. SuperFrince with a double.
That might have been enough, though. Sanji on the run. Forget the Lord. Brusco wants to hunt him down. Kelra there, too. We'll see if they can push this into the mid lane. They still have some time. They try to keep it together, but Sanji, he's all alone. Can he actually clear this out and defend it?
The call for Onic Philippines is to get an inhibitor turret in the middle lane. Let's see if TLPH can still come back from this game. They don't decide to go for the Lord because King Kong is not in the picture. So there was still time bought for TLPH.
All right. They have another shot at this. 3,500 is the gold lead. It's not massive. They have the resources, should have enough to get small wins here and there. But again, it seems to be them needing to initiate something. But it's tough. It's so tough when you have to think about the grab of the glue.
Yeah. He hasn't died, man.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's 3-0-8. Kirk has been unstoppable here. He's been the catalyst for Onic Philippines and the bane for Team Liquid.
Yep. He's providing so much space for Kelra to basically move around. Even King Kong to an extent, and that's what I was saying, you know, the Suyo, you really need to rely on that composition.
Kirk again! Again, Kirk with spread paired up with SuperFrince's feathered airstrike. The TLPH was able to back off. JP already cast a glorious pathway. Brusco quite low, but he has to revitalize, and Sanford goes down!
And without Oheb, since he's grabbed by the glove, it looks like he's gonna go in! It's a turnaround for Team Liquid, but just in the slap, Onic has shattered that dream to keep this game alive! A triple for King Kong!
It's Kirk and King Kong in game 1. They made it work, and now they'll march into the base.
And in a blink of an eye, the Sonics rages forward as they take game 1.
Woo, what a game! Yeah, says Kirk, the cowboy with the cane rounding up the horses.
Man, if Glue was an actual cowboy, I would be devastated and scared.
Yeah. Oh, they're not called cowboys, right? They're called wranglers.
Wranglers.
Right? Wranglers, yeah.
He's wrangling right now, and he's wrangling them with glue links.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and throw this one over to the panel to see what Brigida and Leo have to say about this fast game 1.
Thank you so much, Towercasters. My, oh my, that last sequence, Leo, it looked like something could have happened for Team Liquid Philippines.
No, there was just too much on Oheb's shoulders, and that's literally Kirk. He got the right target, forced Team Liquid Philippines out of formation, and just to clear things out, gentlemen, yes, they're not called Wranglers specifically, they're still called Cowboys, because Cowboys are not the gunslingers, they're just actually dudes who work in farms.
My goodness, Kirk has had probably one of the best glue games
Yeah.
so far
Yeah.
in the entire season.
Clutch last pick.
He's deathless. How could you deal with this guy with the amount of damage that they had at that point, right? Team Liquid Philippines had too many problems, and this was probably the biggest one.
Yeah, no, I think it was the, what they say, the straw that broke the horse's back. Given that, yes, in the index, it showed that stats-wise, Onic wins, right? Because they had better damage profile, they had better reach, better range, fights came out easier for them, and Kirk, I think Kirk single-handedly undid one of the main strengths of Liquid's game. The fact that Liquid can say, no, I don't want to fight just yet. I want to get out of here and then farm up till Oheb is ready. But Kirk said, nah-uh, fam, nah-uh. I'm going to use this newly reworked glue and make sure that your softies, or even your not softies, you're kind of softies in Phobius early on, can't walk away, and that's exactly what he did here. You're seeing him. He's doing it every single time.
That's right. They couldn't say no. Like, they're always forced to fight. And this is probably one of the games wherein we barely saw the chemistry, the coordination within Team Liquid Philippines. Not even the San duo could operate at the same time. It's completely shut down for the XP laner of Team Liquid.
And this is something we saw in their series against Falcons last night. It's odd that in the early games of a long series like this, it seems like Liquid has to warm up. They have to, you know, rev the engine to say, all right, guys, we're a little too aggressive. We're going for things that maybe we shouldn't have. Timing is in on our side. Let's do better game 2, 3, 4. Here it was clear. There was one moment, I don't know if you saw it in the highlights, where Karltzy got caught out while he was trying to go for a buffer or some random thing that he shouldn't have.
Yeah, and is that not the worst scenario for a Hayabusa when you're the one who's constantly forced to use the quad shadows just to get away, just to reposition, and not even find key targets? This was the entire idea why we mentioned in the draft that the Farsa could have been okay for Team Liquid Philippines, right? But no, it was SuperFrince flying right into their faces, and they could barely do anything with the amount of burst damage that he already had. So it was a pretty hard and rough game for Team Liquid Philippines right there in this game number 1.
Yeah, for such a difficult match here, they had a close farm. Again, Renmar mentioned how Onic never really went past the 5K gold lead, and I think that's understood to be, at least for the past year or so, the threshold for competitive MLBB. If you can keep it close like that, even when you're down, a game is comebackable, and I think that's what Onic respected in Team Liquid Philippines. They still planted Kirk in the right spots, kept SuperFrince scarce. He died just once in this game, and they told King Kong, hey, you get shut down once, best believe that gold lead will diminish, and it did. The smallest it was like 2,000, 3,000, but that was just once.
Yeah, I mean, look at this right now. Even as we wrapped up the game, 15 minutes and 35 seconds, there's only just a 3K gold lead that's existing in the hands of Onic Philippines, despite the 722 kill score, despite all the objectives that were taken away from them. 8 turrets in contrast to 3.
Yeah, no.
It's so weird how Team Liquid Philippines are able to keep this together.
The furthest that Liquid ever came close to Onic's base was through bottom lane, that Oheb worked on. Who, by the way, Oheb spent a good, 5 or 6 minutes just clamming up, keeping himself scarce, defending his part of the map, farming up, and he built a solid 6, right? But he did not cross the threshold of actually selling his boots and being an even bigger nuisance. He had to play it close to the chest. He had to be frugal about his economy. And looking at the damage, I think this is something that we'll visit later on. King Kong alone, the carry, 81K, the rich guy, of course. When did King Kong never farm out of his mind?
Yeah, and also, when was the last time we saw a Suyo be this successful in the game? Like from the early first few minutes of the game up until the moment where they ended it, he was ahead, he was so well farmed, so this is a surprising outcome for King Kong.
I'll tell you when. Whenever the opponents only pick one solid magic damage dealer, and it's not even a burst damage dealer, it's a Zushin who killed Kelra like 2 or 3 times.
Oh yeah, and that took like so much for him to do that.
He was literally just hovering his skill 2 over Kelra in the span of like a 10-15 second fight. But yeah, no, that's the reason why King Kong was so successful. That's one of the geniuses of Coach Waina and Coach Hayes' draft here, saying, King Kong, coast is clear, go play Suyo.
Yeah, I mean, I think you will be looking at it later on too, but there was an early Malefic Roar. There was just so many core items already in King Kong's hands by how many minute mark? So take us through what happened through that game, Leo. Let's look at the more specific details in that game.
It would be my pleasure. Let's go ahead and check out game number 1 and go into the details as we dive deep into what made Liquid's game so difficult and how Onic barreled forward in value. And here's the thing. It wasn't even that big of a gap, right? Again, under 5K, the difference between Liquid and Onic. Who, by the way, I don't think Onic has ever played blue side. I need to double check on that stat, but Onic has played 11 games now in red side, and check it out. This right here is where it shrank closest. The shutdown on King Kong, right? King Kong died somewhere around Yay, and that led to this gap closing to close to 2,000, and that is the closest Liquid looked like to actually coming back, to actually maybe making a difference and making Onic respect once again what the cavalry brings to the table. But that aside, look at this. Half of the major objectives gained. 1 turtle snuck in. That's turtle number 2. 3 turrets. That's all bottom. Wait, no. 1 up top and then 2 in the bottom. Didn't even penetrate into the base. And then, of course, Onic just everything but the kitchen sink. Yep. There you go. This was the last. This was the base right here. So, it comes down to fundamentals, right? No matter how much fight control you have, no matter how much spacing you can get with a Zushin or a Hylos, when it comes down to it, if your lineup can't fight when it wants to, best believe a team like Onic will punish you. And that's what they got here. They got the Baksha, they got the glue. That's what we like to call reach. We'll talk about that when the draft shows up here. And when you're playing against the hero or players like King Kong and Kelra, who are so good at taking advantage of the EXP and the gold that they get, these fundamental voids in your approach to the game will be super punished, all right? So, again, a closer look at that change in the gold at about 13 minutes, approaching 14. That is where King Kong died. He came back, said, it's go time, we can't let this happen again. It was a faster game the larger picture of the playoffs. Let's check out the item progression. This is where I would like to geek out. Look at Kelra's full build here on the Sky Piercer. Yes, it shows up at 6, but if you watch the game closely, he built both the Hunter Strike and the Sky Piercer and the random Jerkin that would lead then to the Warrior Boots. And if I'm not mistaken, he did this at 5:06, 5:07. He was ready to go at 5 minutes. That's how difficult the gold lane was for Oheb. And then look at King Kong here, who Brigida mentioned was rocking an early Malefic Roar. There it is. So this is a Suyo that knows that they're in for the kill. Hunter Strike, check. War Axe, check. Like these two, you never let go. And then, bam! Malefic Roar, you're going to shred through Sanford's armor. You're going to shred through JP's armor. The healing, forget about it. You got the Brusco Baksha here running around building that Antikiras early, nullifying Sanford, nullifying Karltzy. A little bit of Oheb already. Because again, very weird damage profile here. Only one main magic source in Sanji's Zushin. Check out as well, Kirk, this was mentioned by our casters, the Dominance Ice. I believe this one single item here was enough to make sure Oheb had a difficult early mid to early late. He did eventually build 6 items and felt a little bit of a power spike, but no, this right here, the way Kirk said, yeah, if ever Oheb were to get me, if ever JP decides to touch me, say goodbye to the healing. Even Sanford found it hard to ride out those early engagements. The front line did not exist for Team Liquid Philippines because of what Kirk did here. The early dominance ice. SuperFrince, of course, you build the usual defensive suite in the Queen's Wings and the Winter Trunch, and then Brusco. Folks, I suggest you guys pay attention to how Bakshas are built. Again, throwing back to the Chop Suey meta, he built a black ice armor here. So just in case these fights happened without Kirk and his fully built dominance ice, Brusco was there. Brusco could slow down the healing, cut the shields, and stack on top of those Baksha marks. That's the reason why Baksha is so big in the current metagame. Now let's talk about the draft, all right? Number one major problem, damage profile. I noted this in the desk whenever I would be on and a team would be defending. I give the wave clear score for Team Liquid Philippines here with this draft a 6 out of 10. I don't like it. It takes a while. There was a moment wherein it was Karltzy and Sanji trying to clear a wave in mid and bottom. It took him, what, a solid 10 seconds. Just like, this is one wave, gentlemen. And again, that's a decision they made. This is a team fighting lineup. This is a lineup that wants to at least be at neutral, win the fights that they choose, and then retreat from the fights that they don't choose. That was one of the main strengths that I noted in this draft, but they didn't get to those positions. They never got to a point wherein they could say, I don't want to fight. On the other hand, Onic, again, kings of range and reach. Range, POW, Farsa, POW, Granger, reach. That's a new concept we want to introduce. How perfect that it is Brusco, who is the king of reach in this game. Reach is different from range. Range is how you can effectively attack your opponents while being far away. Reach is what you get in assassins like Hayabusa and in heroes like Baksha and Kufra, wherein you jump in, close the gap, and then be right in your opponent's face. That is reach. That is what ruins heroes like Farsa, ruins heroes like Eve, and even Zushin. If you can close the gap and make her fight wherein you're not comfortable, then forget about it. Like the shield negation that Baksha provides against Zushin almost makes Crimson Beacon an auto click. And that compromised Sanji, that compromised all of Liquid, and that's what led to this quick win by the Super Fan.
Yep, those mid-game stats by this guy, the reach, Brusco, that was like 10k gold ahead of the usual average stats of the current season. So that's on the Baksha roam, which again has been a major threat too for majority of the drafts for the past 2 days. And
they breakout pick in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been able to pull it off really well. I mean, that tends to happen, right? That there's a certain meta that gets established in the first day, especially after a very long break. And right now we're seeing how the meta in the playoffs is starting to shape up to look like. And it does feel like Onic Philippines is the team to actually perfect that meta so far and the way they're able to execute it overall. But yeah, I completely agree. It's been a very tough game. I barely felt the sustain in the Team Liquid Philippines lineup. I initially thought there was so much. That was a Phobius, that was a high loss, but we barely felt it. But right now, let's take a look at the smart power pose of the day. So for everyone watching, it's time to put your game face on and make your smart power pose because you will be getting a redeemable in-game code if you get chosen here in this segment. So
folks, note the tongue. Note Kirk's tongue. They gotta pay attention to the tongue.
yeah. Show us the right
Oh,
one.
this kid.
Oh.
Homie went too far.
Wait, he didn't hold it.
Metal Mouth went a little too
No,
far.
that's too high. That's too high.
Yeah, there's too much tongue. It's just a little. Hey, that's not Kirk. Here we go.
Oh, I think
All
this
right.
one. I think this works.
All right, this bespectacled lady knows. She
Okay.
did it right the first time.
I think we need a bit more.
Homie's got a nice smile, but
How do I say this?
the young lady's tongue is a little too playful. This guy's not having any of it.
no, we you just show a bit of your teeth.
Yeah, I'd say like the upper half of your teeth and some. And there you go. Like gentleman in the back with the tattoos almost got it.
Okay. Did he?
But
No,
he's
that's
not-
a bit too much.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this guy's gonna be our winner for the Smart Power Pose. Congratulations to you. I hope you enjoy your redeemable in-game code.
He won with
because-
charm.
Yeah, he didn't get the tongue right, but like,
Yeah, it's fine.
you see,
He got heart.
He held it all the way. So he deserved to get that redeemable in-game code.
Dedication.
So congratulations. We have a lot more in store for you guys. If ever you do decide to come here at Green Sun Makati, if you decide to join us and watch the last 2-3 days of our playoffs. So we hope to see you. We hope that you were able to secure tickets because I believe they went by really fast. So by the way, Onic Philippines will be going red side
Of course.
this time around.
This is their 12th game. All playoffs long to be in the red side.
They've mastered the trades so much. Like, they just know this is where they want to be. We saw it earlier, too. Like, their win rates when they're on the red side, it's just way too up there. They're just so confident in terms of them playing the red side and them letting go of certain picks. Like, even the Jushin first pick earlier that was done by Team Liquid Philippines, you see how they were able to play around it. Even the Phobius is a common ban that we see in the first phase, but they knew exactly how to respond to that. But again,
Oh my God.
Leo did mention earlier, we do observe that Team Liquid Philippines tends to take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I believe this was a trend for other teams in international tournaments too, or like way back, it was something we saw in Aurora as well, but now it's happening to Team Liquid Philippines.
That's why we love the lower bracket. But here's the thing, you don't have to go to the lower bracket. Like, winning this series punches your ticket to the grand finals and to MSC. So it doesn't have to come to that, all right? So I have hope that a lot of lessons were learned in game one to give us a more competitive game number two. It's just... Onic also watched last night. Onic also knows what the cavalry is capable of, so they would, you know...
That was probably their form of rest, right? Like watching the series together after they played their own series in the first match of yesterday. But we're calling Renmar in once more to join us in the draft. Renmar, how are you feeling? Did you like what you saw in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I did. How Onic was able to come back into that. Hello again, Leo, bring it up.
It was a very dominant game for Onic Philippines, completely denying the sustained heroes for Team Liquid. So now they change things up. No Jushins whatsoever. It's a more common first pick so far for Team Liquid Philippines.
Hey man, all the Renmarians are asking, should the Baksha show up here again?
I mean, there's a chance that it will, and probably in the no, I think it's still gonna be in the Rome. Considering that there's a Harris on the other side, Team Liquid Philippines might consider picking up the Baksha. That's one of the heroes that's been proven to not counter it, but just give it difficulty, of course. You know, you're reducing a little bit of the shields that he can get. It's still a crazy amount of shields, but, you know, every little thing helps when trying to deal with Harris.
That and the Phobius, so this is already a clear signal, but it might be a trap by Coach. Why not?
Yeah, I agree with that. That they might be trying to bait out a Baksha pick early on.
What if they have answers to this? You know, like we've seen it in the previous days. Like for lineups that had the Baksha, it feels like you have to allot a ban for a certain pick that will make your time very difficult. But Team Liquid Philippines might not fall into that trap. They're picking up the Gatot first, and if they pick the Baksha here, that'll pretty much reveal a lot since you already have your jungler, so you don't get the flex benefit of the Baksha if they pick it up here, so they will proceed with the Farsa instead.
Ooh, okay. I like this Farsa ban. Sanji applied, SuperFrince applied so much pressure for the lineup of Team Liquid Philippines earlier. Good response right away, picking up the Hayabusa. It seems to be the go-to slot now for Haya, Red 3.
If it wasn't such a magic damage-filled first half for Liquid, then that would have been a Suyo, right? But Haya it is, again, quick access, quick reach to the Farsa in the back, now closing off these picks. Do we attack the gold lane? Do we attack the XP lane for Liquid?
Yeah, I mean, the matchup that just can kind of manage things with a Harith in the lane is probably the Granger, like that's the closest, but that's already banned out. So the next possible probably will be the Moskov if ever they do want to offer that. But this is looking pretty interesting since does Onic want to let go of the Baksha in this kind of scenario? Since it feels like the Baksha earlier played by Onic was up against Team Liquid Philippines with this exact same lineup and it worked. So would they want to like encounter that same problem?
We do need a little bit more thickness in their lineup though. Maybe this time around, Team Liquid Philippines might consider picking up the glue for themselves. Just a little thing to deal with the Harith and whoever's going to be left alone in the backline, most likely to pick up SuperFrince, considering that Team Liquid Philippines had a really great ban here in the Salinas. So, then does that mean they're going to be considering taking out something like the Lo Yi, maybe? If they want to take out another SuperFrince Comfort to put him in something that might be a bit of a matchup mishap for him.
Oh, and by the way, I think the carry might also be an option. But that's too much magic damage if you're Team Liquid Philippines already.
Yeah, you need either physical or true at this point. Like that is way too much magic. That Radiant Armors early on is just gonna snuff their development in the game.
Yep, I agree. So what does Team Liquid Philippines go for as their last ban? Is it gonna be the Lu Yi?
Mind you, Oheb still has the Bruno. A pocket Bruno.
Oh yeah.
That he, for a majority of the regular season, alone played a lot. Like, that was his go-to if everything else failed.
Yeah, and that makes sense, considering that it's going to be paired up with the Farsa, or with the Gatot Kacha enjoyed diving forward. There should be enough room for the Matrix. However, that means that Team Liquid Philippines will have to have another frontliner in the back line to peel, because the Hayabusa will just be able to dive onto them easy.
That too. So it's Bea or Bruno left for the Filipino sniper.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Louis potential pickup if SuperFrince wants to go that route? Or do they just really be cautious of the presence of the Joy? Because, you know, but I mean, it's like you can just play it as aggressively as we saw it yesterday if ever they do pick it up. It works well with the Haya too in terms of managing the split or the opposite waves if ever they do want to go for the macro. So
for the world's longest quad shadow.
It can happen if ever they do pick it up here.
I mean, but they have no rush for it. Because again, you already know who the mid laner is over there.
Oh, alright, just catching up. Ooh. Alright.
Oh. They pick up the Cho and there's no Rawhead anymore. So what does JP go for? There's no chip too. Or is he gonna go for the Gatot?
That might as well be the case. Because again, we know Liquid has deep pockets, but no, they learned their lesson yesterday. We're not gonna play the meta anymore. We'll play what we know.
They're sticking with it. It's something we saw from Onic Philippines too, and eventually they did find a way to make it work. But now it's the mage for SuperFrince. Even the carry's still even the Kimmy's still out there, as we mentioned. Unless they're gonna go.
It's banned.
Okay.
So we go for what we expected anyways.
Nice.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, it was this or the Eve.
It was. Considering that there's a Joy though, so this probably would have been the safer option.
More mobile.
Onic Philippines, it feels like they're just so confident with the way they're drafting so far in the past 2 games. It's like they're able to foresee every single thing that might come out, and it's Team Liquid Philippines who, since yesterday, have been feeling a bit off.
Even as the game has already started, I think Liquid's learning a lot. So look at this. This is a adjustment from their draft in game 1, and the numbers are looking better already.
Yep. They have to show us, and they have to execute it as well in such a way that they're able to maximize this lineup's potential, because it has a lot. You can expect a lot of combinations, a lot of hero synergies. That's the Farsa, that's the Gatot. But let's see how everything unfolds as we throw it over to our casters.
Thank you so much, panel. Again, Brigida and Leo and Renmarian. And Renmarian's back on the desk with us once again. It's me and Ingan jumping into game 2 here. We'll see if TLPH can go ahead and even out the series, or maybe they, I don't know, maybe they just want another reverse sweep under their hands here. We're going to find out. The lineup looks better, though, I would say, for the composition this time around for TLPH.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned it a little bit in the draft. Let's take a quick look at the emblems. Anything standing out?
No, all pretty standard. Of course, SuperFrince going with his tenacity and inspire, 5% cooldown reduction, along with the Brave Smite, excuse me, for his low Yi. And one of the key interactions here for Team Liquid Philippines are their double revitalize and the Gatakacha and High Loss. They should not hesitate to take those early to mid-game trades, because when you have that with you, that means even though Onic Philippines, their damage might trump you in the early to mid, you have the regen to get through it and to potentially turn things around. So if ever they find themselves in a skirmish, and as long as Sanford and JP are together, go ahead, fight.
Yeah, but it seems like Onic actually is on the driver's seat now, forcing
Carl 7-0 on the Joy?
Yeah, undefeated. Wow. I didn't realize that, actually.
Yeah, I was, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Ingan,
it's
but
okay.
wow.
Because that's an amazing stat, and let's see if Karltzy will suffer his first defeat with the Joy, especially with the adjustments that they have. I do agree with what Renmar said in terms of, you know, forcing things out. They can force a revitalize 1 or 2 even before the turtle spots.
That's the crazy thing. When was the last time we saw double revitalize in the past couple? I mean, even the end of regular season, we haven't seen that too often. It was a strategy that teams like to go with, you know, more so in the beginning of the regular season. But this is a whole lot of sustain that's going to help TLPH, and, you know, maybe even help the fact that Karltzy can play a little more aggressive even. And, you know, for those that missed it yesterday, Karltzy just achieved a pretty big milestone for the MPL Philippines, where he hit 2,000 kills. First one in the MPL Philippines. Fight for the turtle.
Dark wave there for Kirk. They all jump in, but a few glorious pathways. Spirit of Destruction missed. So this might be an opening here for Onic, but Karltzy will secure the turtle. SuperFrince caught in the middle as JP picks up a kill.
Exactly what we were talking about. Kirk might be up in the docket, but he'll be able to get away. The double revitalize early on. Don't hesitate to fight. And TLPH, they stuck true to that main condition.
That's exactly what it was, and that'll be the case for the majority of the early game. Now, at some point, obviously, you know, Onic Philippines will get the items that they need, and they'll be able to go ahead and counter play into that a little bit. But it's going to be a rough early to mid-game even. If they start to, if TLPH continues to go ahead and focus on objectives and then scale up, it's going to be troublesome. Brusco.
Purify popped down there by Sanji, so Brusco
nice
getting caught there by JP as King Kong tries to go for the chase, even use up the retribution to bring down Sanji. Brusco escapes.
So kills across the map. All right, so a kill onto Kirk. Karltzy was able to get 1, and then a trade out for Sanji, who eventually, after getting kicked out of the sky, did fall down. Okay.
Yeah. Hey. You know, that Purify will help a little bit, but also the thing to take note of is Brusco has done pretty well on the Cho when it gets picked up. I think, you know, sitting at a positive win rate on it, 6-3 right now, is still the main thing. He's usually able to go ahead and find those exact targets that they need to, especially in some of the more crucial team fights later on. Ouch. Takes a lot of poke here, though, too, and that's one thing. Like I said, man, the Farsa has risen up once again in a lot of these compositions that we're seeing just because of that early burst, the jump.
AOG jump there for JP. They want to go for Kirk. And it looks like he's going to fall down, but in exchange for Sanji, as Kickball picks up another kill, and both teams will disperse.
All right, good trade there. Good sense by King Kong to just jump straight into the backline, take Sanji down, as the other members of Team Liquid Philippines were focused on Kirk. This should go a little bit better for Onic Philippines in contesting this turtle, but Sanji will be back in time, and it looks like it's going to be a full-on 5v5, considering the 2 gold laners are nearby. Let's see, though, where Oheb and Kelra will go. It seems like they are focused more on just getting the farm.
Yeah, Oheb's got to do that, though. So he went, cleared mid. He's going to go back down bottom. The fight for the turtle, though, we'll see if... Oh, throws the spear.
There's the SOD and the glorious pathway there from Sanford. Kirk jumps in for the Infernal Pursuit as King Kong gets the turtle, though. But a clash still going on. JP might fall down here, but the first man down is Brusco. Next one is JP. And both teams again will disperse, but there's going to be a diversion though.
Where's that gonna go? Okay. Oh no, they're gonna be sending them back. Oh, Kirk still holding on, trying to do everything he can to be able to clear up the minion wave. And he avoids getting taken down. Oheb, good call to not commit the Spear of Destruction to go into the fight. Seems like Team Liquid Philippines just told him, go ahead, focus on the farm, get the tower instead. That's more important now.
Yeah, and ultimately leading to pretty much even, you know, across the board for the most part. Both teams still looking to find that momentum in this game, but TLPH responds with focusing on an objective, and that's space is what they want to go, because they bring Oheb now up the top side. He's going to be working on that tier 1 there too, alongside the help with the Sanford as they force off Kirk. So this is the play for TLPH. Oh, hold on, JP.
Trying to collapse onto JP, but he's quite hacky. SOD is going to connect good Dark Wave there from Kirk, but they cannot sustain the damage though. JP picks up another kill as he jumps in, but Oheb is going to fall down. Another weak Shadow Kill coming in from King Kong. And now, SuperFrince is left there.
Oh, good counter there by Onic. They all lined up and they look perfect for Oheb, but he eventually got taken down. But that tight fighting path meant that the damage of the low would be great. King Kong finds Karl, but Karl still trying to get away. Sanford here to help him out.
Close call. That was close.
That was calculated. That was either close, that was calculated, that was all of it. Right? That's what you see when it's a Joy and a Hayabusa, of course, trying to fake out each other. So ultimately, we're still at the same precipice of this. You know, it's basically even. You have this next turtle coming up. Both of the teams have won themselves. We'll see who gets this last and final turtle of the game. Onic Philippines is going to get in position. They'll continue to put pressure for TLPH over on the other side with Oheb. We'll see if he joins this fight as Kelra takes down the tier 1 top side. Now the response from TLPH for this is also going to be crucial. They've only got the one revitalized. Sanji is going to be okay too. Has his Purify. Brusco goes in with a conceal.
Oh, target might be Sanji, but instead went with Karltzy. AOG again paired up with the Glory Pathway. The Spear of Destruction is not going to connect. That's why King Kong was able to pick up one. Next target might be Sanji there. And got caught off by Kirk. JP falls down. A double. And 3 will fall down for TLPH.
Brusco does it again. Smooth on the conceal and the kick. A slick kick by Brusco.
Yeah, I was commenting about that earlier, man. He's got one of the better records on the show, and he's able to find the right targets at the right moment. Again, just the pressure of him, you know, just being on the show is enough to keep a lot of teams kind of second-guessing on exactly how they want to approach these fights. This turtle's now up. TLPH is going to get in position. They drop down the pathway.
Yeah, Karltzy doesn't have retribution, so they're going for the kills instead. Beautiful kick once again from Brusco to catch Karltzy. Sanji jumps in the picture. SOD again will miss, and this time, Kelra in the picture. Salmon for struck down.
And it looks like TLPH needs to run away as Onic Philippines know that the gold laner of TL missed the SOD. And they only lose Sanford. That could have been
way
an
worse.
Absolute disaster. Yeah, way worse for Team Liquid.
Could have been way worse there, and it's, I don't know, man, every single time, I don't know what it is about these spears being thrown right now by Oheb, but sometimes it takes just that one at the crucial moment. Now, some of these team fights, again, yes, they're going in favor of Onic Philippines. They're starting to build some of that lead, but ultimately, knowing TLPH, they'll still go ahead and get ready to fight for that first Lord. They still got a minute plus to go ahead and get what they need. They're not too far behind, but the problem is, again, if Oheb decides to just plan himself up, let's say he does miss the next Spear Destruction, then yeah, that's not going to be good, but a conceal is going to be used.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
There's a diversion though. Spear of Destruction again will miss as Kirk working on Sanji. There's a revitalize though. Kirk jumps in with the Infernal Pursuit. One more hit onto Sanji, but gets ganked up and collapsed on by TLPH. Kirk is going to fall down.
All right, good positional adjustment there by Team Liquid Philippines to make sure Sanji will be able to get away, and they end up winning the trade with Kirk going down. It means though that Onic Philippines has stopped a major sequence for Team Liquid in the mid, and now they'll be able to clear up top and go back to the mid lane tower again to continue trying to defend it. 28 seconds before the Lord spawns. Still a very, very close game. No clear advantage in terms of the gold, in terms of the items. Right now, it's just who can press buttons better.
Yeah, that's what it's coming down to, the execution here for both the teams. TLPH will find another pickoff if they can, but that's what you got to watch out for on the other side. Brusco having the flicker available on the show. Could choose to do it even before they decide to take the Lord. Real quick, how's items looking?
All right, in terms of the two gold laners, neck and neck, already getting closer to Holy Crystal is Kelra. Two core items for the Moskov. Well, diversion going to the mid. Are they gonna get Sanford?
Okay.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they'll back off of it. But they're going to go ahead and get control of this Lord and perhaps even just take this one. Karltzy's got the information, but they're blitzing this.
Oh, they're blitzing it. Karltzy in the picture, but got aggressively there by King Kong. Now they want to go for the punish. SOD finally connects, but Brusco with a beautiful kick onto Karltzy, but still gets taken down. Now they're going to steal away the purple buff, so Brusco for a Lord.
Hell of a punish there by Team Liquid. And yeah, the SOD that finally landed led to something good for TL, but Onic did get the Lord. And they will lose their tower in mid. So it's a massive trade. It's the Lord, which Onic will be able to push out with. But Team Liquid Philippines finally got the tower in the mid lane that they've been eyeing for the past few minutes now. Look at the items of the junglers very close. Holy Crystal, Magic Lantern already completed by Karltzy. The core item for Hayabusa locked in all the way up to Malefic Roar and War Axe as well. They are both very online.
Early engage, Kirk has used the Infernal Pursuit because the Glorious Path dropped down. Kelra again with 7-14 flickers in. Trying to chase right after Oheb.
Kelra still alive! King Kong is unstoppable! Good fault! Diversion, where is this going? It's just gonna be to advance their push even further. 3 down on the side of Liquid.
I can't believe Oheb even got away. Kelra used the flicker to try to catch him, but didn't. So they might be able to still defend this even with just the two of them. Shield's gonna pop, Lord's taken care of. Midway still pushing in. Here's Onic Philippines in the base.
Brusco charging in with a cheat couldn't do. It might be endable there. Purified there for Sanji to be able to clear out the minions, but they burst him down. Kelra, King Kong, and SuperFrince has to back off because the minion spawn for TLPH. This might be an opening.
JP with the A! OG to take down the Monster Mage. Team Liquid have defended. Onic have overstepped.
Oh, Onic Philippines, they saw the finish line, but TLPH said no, not yet.
It felt like I watched this last night.
Yeah.
Game 5, Team Falcons versus TLPH.
Hey man, at this point, it feels like we've been here already for a week, right? But let's take a look at the replay here. This is what we're talking about. They go in, they make a play on Sanji, but it's good for Oheb. Like I said, think how important it was that he didn't die from when Kelra went, because if he did get him, that'd be game over.
Yeah, and Sanji was able to maximize the feathered airstrike because he pressed Purify just in time to cancel the cancel of Brusco onto the Farsa. So that meant that Oheb was still able to lock down onto the final siege minion so that they can push out. It still is a dire situation for the cavalry though, because we cannot deny Onic Philippines are most definitely still in control. The big difference in gold is actually in the mid lane. Only up to Blood Wings is the Farsa, but the Lo Yi has 3 core items already locked in. The Enchanted Talisman, Glowing Wand, and his own Blood Wings as well.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about it, because Sanji, even despite being down in terms of gold against SuperFrince, you're still seeing how much damage a feathered airstrike can do. And yeah, the right timing or key timing on that Purify is going to be crucial for him in avoiding Brusco even. So Lord is up once again. There's been a whole lot of action already just near that 13.5-minute mark for this one. We'll see if TLPH has an answer. You know, a lot of the team fights that have broken out have all been from Onic Philippines deciding to go and make something happen. With one base turret down in the mid lane, TLPH will go and try to make an adjustment. They can manage the waves pretty easily though, because that is that mid-wave turret down, but you can already see where Onic Philippines is deciding to plant themselves here. They might go for some sneaky maneuvers.
Split push potential there from Brusco and Kelra, but I think...
yeah, they gotta join the fight.
Yeah, they have to join the fight, because again, Brusco has been the main initiator for the side of Onic Philippines, but the best part is for TLPH. They can punish whatever execution Brusco does right now because of the double revitalized setup and the glorious pathway and AOG that they have.
Right, look at the items. Dominance Ice, Athena's Shield for the high loss. Still on the way to the Dom Ice, but already has Radiant Armor and Athena's Shield, actually, for the Phobius of Kirk. They see who's stalwart's going to be important. They're sending a diversion up top. So that's a massive shrub held there by Onic.
Oh, TLPH bursting it down. Glorious pathway through the lane, but King Kong steals away the Lord.
And TLPH are just going to try to get constellation prizes, but they get Brusco. And Onic Philippines are still running, but Team Liquid cannot continue the chase.
They lose Brusco. That's fine. They got the Lord. He's not going to be up for this push here, so it might be an opportunity for TLPH to clear out the Lord, stop the push from doing too much damage here. What are they going to do?
Are they going to try to hold it here in the center of the map? That's difficult against the low yield.
A little risky.
They're trying to do a high clear here. Turk goes in with a dark wave. Kelra, Zaman Force popped down already. Oheb able to free hit. Sanji already used up the feathered airstrike. No, but they burst down Sanford. Now SuperFrince looking to execute Oheb there. Kirk, though, got taken down. Diversion. Where they're going to go, they might go back. King Kong with Shadow Kill there. And 2 will fall down for TLPH.
Karltzy's back on the map. He's going to try and get Kelra. Can he press him down? Baby! Cakes with a shutdown onto the Harris.
And one crucial spear of destruction changed everything. SuperFrince almost got Oheb there, but Sanji with the save.
Oh, man. Earlier, last game, we saw the KK connection, even if it was a different variation, and now we're seeing the Baby Cakes duo make work here, staying in the game. We said this minutes ago. TLPH needed to buy time. Ren Marian, they have bought time.
Bro, I know what's going on in the Philippines, man. There's something in the water, and it sure as hell isn't fluoride.
The decision to go and high clear that Lord despite the Onic having a Louis. And again, they have trouble locking down Kelra, so assuming that the Zaman forces drop down, he's just gonna dance away. But still, Oheb was able to back off, and then right on time, as soon as Karltzy jumps in, the SOD connects.
Oh, man. Again, they find themselves here at this point. Lord's still a ways away. A minute on the clock for that to come up. So Onic Philippines, you know, you're starting to see them being like, all right, we're going to have to kind of adjust our game plan here with this. And this is where some of those important diversions can come into play. That's always something that they can pull out of the sleeves here with SuperFrince. You're seeing how much damage there is in difference here between the two teams as well. And that's all been the story because TLPH has had to play catch-up in terms of itemization. But now I feel like they're actually in that capability to fight, you know, the way that it's been playing here. Now that's something that Onic Philippines has to consider even before this next Lord does come up. Right now, too, you got tanky front line for TLPH to deal with, plus still the 2 Run Vitalize are going to be crucial in that next take. So right now, just kind of a face-off while the junglers go and get their buffs. They got to make sure they go ahead and play this right. They might also use Oheb, unless he decides to stick with the team here.
Okay.
Oh, it's just going to throw the spear.
Conceal.
It hit.
SOD connects onto
Okay.
Kelra. Oheb
They
jumps
go.
in once again, but Brusco with a beautiful cheat to do. Can't go onto the back with a weaky Shadow Kill. They're going to bring down Sanji!
TLPH are falling apart. Onic Philippines have done it yet again. Wiped out are the cavalry.
In exchange for Kirk, Onic Philippines again, just like what we witnessed in game number 1. A dominant win for the Sonics.
Bruce Goat. Just when Team Liquid Philippines pulled the trigger, another slick kick and knock-up by Brusco.
Day number 1, it was all about Badangs, and now it's all about chose for Brusco.
This is going to be a good one to break down here for Brigida and Leo. Guys, what do you have to say about game 2?
It feels exactly how game number 1 ended. A team fight that broke out, which nearly looked like Team Liquid could have taken advantage of, but it was Onic all along who knew how to win it in the long run.
It went from worse to bad, if we're talking about game 1 to game 2 progression. But yeah, no, I think Liquid felt it in them that maybe if we can catch Onic off guard, we could end this. But just before that, Brigida will attest to this. I was watching and I literally, this is a I told you so moment. It's like, don't be impatient, wait for the right moment and fight when you feel it. But another key to Liquid actually coming back is to take down King Kong. King Kong did not let that happen.
Yep, and that's where the impatience came in. The entire, oh, we could go for it. They saw this. The Salmon Force, it was already burned, but they didn't take into account King Kong. They didn't take into account that there was a wall, that there was a kick, and that there was the vacuum that could come in from SuperFrince. Everything. They weren't able to take account of that, and this guy, he didn't die, as you mentioned. They weren't able to find him.
Instead of serving up a point to Liquid, King Kong was giving out 808s and heartbreaks. Not a single death, 8 assists, 8 kills. he was on it. Again, a lot of people will say King Kong has his ups and downs.
Yep.
But this is just the metagame affecting how King Kong plays. And now, after 3 weeks of a break and a month and a half of the patch drop-in, he understands now. He knows where he can play. He knows the space in the metagame that he can move around and operate in. And the Hayabusa gives him such a great toolkit to do just that.
We saw how much he was able to maximize all of that, especially considering as it wasn't as perfect of an early game for TLPH2. We did mention a couple of times how why isn't the SOD connecting? And I feel like that affected their early game so much because it could have been way better. Oheb was doing a great job managing the waves, but there was always a team fight happening on the other side, which if he could have just joined, things could have been different for Team Liquid Philippines.
But one might argue that if Oheb joined these fights, it's not a guaranteed win, especially when there is a Hayabusa always out on the hunt for you. And what happened was, King Kong went for the next best thing. He went for Sanji. Did not want to go for Karltzy because there was a moment in this game where Karltzy was walking around top lane, bumped into a random shinobi hiding in the bush, like, King Kong said, major flinch. Right? So, Oheb did what was best for business at the time.
Yep. And it was very difficult to see that even towards the late game where Team Liquid Philippines just decided to say, Oheb, let's not go for the split anymore. We did talk about this too, right? Like they were just doing that entire for Protect 1. They knew how badly they needed to protect Oheb, but even that didn't work anymore. Sanji had too much of a hard time. This is something we mentioned too earlier that we didn't see in game number 1, you know?
Sanji died maybe 3 or 4 times too much, and he did what he could. Again, he was a threat magnet. He was doing everything in the early to mid that Liquid could not afford to do with Karl and Oheb. But again, we have to give our flowers to Liquid as well, despite losing this game here and one more away, one more loss from losing the series. Baby Capes came online. Very late though. Very late. Karltzy, he was doing what he could with a joy, but look at this lineup from Onic, right? You have a Cho that could... All right. Onic, ask me, are they a frontline or a backline lineup?
Are they a frontline or are they a backline?
They're a frontline, backline lineup. That's what's so difficult is Sanji couldn't hide, Karltzy couldn't cut through, Sanford was dying like half the time that he didn't have a revitalize, and Oheb, you know what, maybe it was a blessing in disguise that he was missing SODs. Because if he did come through, he would have to think twice of, is this even worth it? Because I might die when I jump in.
Yeah, those are probably some of the little things which allowed Team Liquid Philippines to extend this game, honestly. And unknowingly, it really could have been something, you know? Now, I'm starting to think, does Team Liquid Philippines actually get away with this? How do they, like, recreate that entire reverse sweep if they're up against Onic, who doesn't let go of the red side and are just this good at pressing buttons?
All right, to answer your question, I'm going to go back to the root of it. Brigida, they can't get away with anything. It's not a matter of finessing a victory out of Onic. You have to go through the belly of the beast. You have to understand that fundamentally, Liquid cannot slip up. There has to be some way you stop King Kong from farming. You have to stop him from being the BPI rich guy. You have to compromise SuperFrince's hero pool without giving something else in return elsewhere on the map.
Yeah. We might need to see a little bit more of their mid or trio rotations and how they're able to actually focus down on certain things in the early game, because it does feel like there are 2 different things that they want to do, especially if you look at Sanji and JP.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 or 5. Like I had a grocery list of things to check off for them to even think of getting back into the series. But yeah, no, you're right. If for Onic, it was so easy for them to say, all right, KK, King Kong, Kirk, sure, game 1. And then for game 2, it was more Kelra, King Kong again, the old school KK, which, by the way, Kirk played a game very similar to his performance in the grand finals of Mobile Masters, where he was sitting with a CC at 0-8 and whatever. Here he was like 0-6, 0-7 with a focus and still doing his job. That is one of the main strengths of Onic here in this series so far. And in the run of the playoffs, like they are such role players from lane to lane to roll to roll. Now let's look at the gold difference timeline again. This time, it's a little closer compared to game number 1, where in game 1, it was like Onic on the red, yeah? It was just, it was this thick. Here, close, 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 close in the gap. I would reckon at about 10, 9 minutes, this is where the gold lead was like 900 or 1,000, just barely. And then slowly, Onic builds that lead once again. It closes, and I think it's at this point, right here, about 16 minutes. This is where Liquid goes, yeah, why don't we force something in mid, right there. We go for the conceal play, jump into the AOG, and regret it almost instantly because of what Brusco did, because of how Onyx draft was a front line, back line kind of lineup for those fans of Key and Peele, you know what I'm talking about. Here you'll see Onyx ended really quickly. Again, mid was penetrated for Liquid, so you know that that was irreversible damage. Not to even mention how the game almost ended about 5 minutes ago, right? With that defense of a lifetime with Sanji pressing the Purify at the very perfect moment. Brusco just taking all the turret hits. That was a close call, but this right here could have looked very different. Turret, I would reckon these two turrets went down in trade for this turtle right here. This was that bottom rush by Oheb. And then, again, you can't trade short-term goals and wins for Onic, against Onic, with the way that they're going. I know what Liquid was trying to go for this, right? They were trying to trade that Lord for a turn, but Onic was just so good at cutting their losses and getting out of there. That's what this was. And then we had another one here, which they were able to defend. I think this one was the negative gains Lord. And then from there, again, Liquid tried to go for a short-term win. Let me introduce a concept called Who's the Beatdown, all right? Last time I talked about this was maybe an M series or an MSC, wherein the winner of any given matchup, any given contest, is the one who understands their role in that bout best. So here, you ask, who was the beatdown at any given time, early, mid to late? For the most part, the beatdown was Onic. And in that last moment where Liquid said, yeah, why don't we pull the trigger here? Bah! They misunderstood that the front line, back line lineup was still very much online, and they missed the cue. They got wiped out. Game ended. Who was the beatdown? Onic knew better. Now, looking at the item progression, again, you'll see that Oheb is slightly behind Kelra. He did build his boots first, but the Trinity will take a little longer to build up. He did get it comfortably, under 10 minutes, but the fact is Kelra never really died. Kelra was sitting at 2-0 and X for a majority of the game, and I think Kelra is one of the reasons why the front line, back line lineup works so well. What does this mean? Again, let's run through front line, back line. Back line killers, that's your Hayabusa, that's your Phoveus. They're the ones who cross over and use their reach to close the gap between them and Liquid's range. Again, talking about that Farsa and that Moskov. But what is the backline breaker from Onic? The ones that mess up with the front line, because again, you already have the targets for the Farsa and the Oheb, the Farsa and the Moskov. You have the Harith. You have the Lo Yi. These are the ones that punish whoever King Kong and Brusco don't find with the kicks, right? So you have people who threaten the back line, and you have people who threaten the front line. And that's what makes it so hard for the AOG and the Glorious Pathway to make a difference. So even if you tried to catch him off guard, even if you thought that, all right, timing is better for us here in mid, let's get him,